Okay, hello everybody. My name is Miss Anna. I'm an English teacher, and today we're going to talk about reading books and literature. So I hope that you guys read, at least maybe not a lot, but a little bit. But still, you know that the world of literature is really cool and awesome, and there are a lot of books that you can find for yourself to read. Well, something interesting, something that is very captivating, amazing. And there are a lot of genres of literature, just like the movies, for example. Yeah, so you can find something for yourself, that's for sure. So today we're going to talk about different books, different literature genres. And of course, as we have this very lesson, also the lesson materials are on the Ukrainska Школа online website. So you can find the lesson materials there in the short lesson, the video lesson, together with other exercises. So this is like a support for you to study a little bit more. So, and let's start actually getting to our today's lesson. So here we have the general things, the main topics that we will discuss today. So literature in general, the genres of literature, and we're going to read and listen to the dialogue about how to look for a book in a bookstore, yeah, and how to talk to a shop assistant. So let's move on. And at once, I want you to take a look at the general word cloud of the books, things connected with literature. So basically, you can write your own associations in YouTube chat. So what do you associate with literature? What are the things, what are the words that come to your mind as soon as you think of books? So yeah, we unfortunately have no subtitles. If you need the translation to some words, you can ask about them in the chat. I will gladly help you with that. So that's not a problem. So write your associations with the books. I can see the first one, author. Yeah, so an author is the person who writes books. Okay, any other associations? Fantasy, yeah, that's a great genre of literature. Yeah, there are lots of different fantasy books. We're going to discuss some of them today. Yeah, so books, fantasy, author, what else? Any other ideas? Story, yeah, definitely. Behind each book, there is a story, which is either interesting, maybe not that interesting, but there is definitely something that is happening. So a story. Romance, yeah, there is a genre of romance. So that's usually about the relationships between people. Bibliography, wow, that's also the word that we can associate with books. Yeah, bibliography, good. Fiction and novel, right? So fiction, yeah, it's also a genre of literature. We will move to it today a little bit later. Novel, yeah, that's a type of book, yeah, also a genre. Bestseller, yeah, this is a very popular book a lot of people buy. So it sells best, that's why it's called bestseller. Fiction already it was already mentioned. Knowledge, yeah, knowledge, that's what you actually get from books. Chapter, yeah, it's part of a book. Art, definitely. Literature is type of art. Nonfiction, yeah, that's a genre that is also, well, another genre of literature, good, we'll discuss it. Poetry, a genre, good. Text and story, good. And yeah, that's basically romance, yeah, already mentioned. Okay, thank you very much for your association. You can also write some words in the chat if you want to, but now let's move on. Here we have some top books for teenagers. The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. Philip Pullman, his Dark Materials, it's a trilogy, yeah, and The Fault in Our Stars. So these books are also called young adult literature. Yeah, and it can be either fiction or non-fiction. Well, this is definitely fiction, something that the author created by themselves. So, have you ever read any of these books? Maybe you've seen the movies based on the books. You can write it in the chat. So, have you read The Hunger Games, His Dark Materials, or The Fault in Our Stars? I know that a lot of people, a lot of teenagers have read these books and probably have seen these movies. So what about you? You can write a plus, maybe a minus, or I have read The Hunger Games, or I haven't read these books at all. Only films, yeah. But the books are actually really awesome. You can get a little bit of more experience, well, like see what was going on in the characters' heads when they were doing the things that are described in the books. Okay, let's move to another part. Here we can see the most famous classic literature. So what about you? Have you ever heard of these books? Have you ever read them? Again, there are lots of films based on these books. So if you've seen the movies, it would be also a good idea to read the books after all. Oh, I can see that there was like non-fiction, fiction fantasy mentioned. I read the book Divergent, kind of like The Hunger Games. Yeah, it actually is. There's also a movie. So yeah, that's a great one. Good, good. Let's come back to the classic literature. Here you can see The Lord of the Rings. It's the fantasy classics, yeah, written by J.R.R. Tolkien. So one of you mentioned fantasy. Here it is. Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. It's a very famous novel, romance novel by Jane Austen. And The Great Gatsby, a novel by Scott Fitzgerald. So also you can see the movie on each of these books, but still these novels are really classic and they are really worth reading them. Okay, we can see that Harry Potter mentioned. Yeah, good. Definitely. Harry Potter has also become the classic fantasy literature, let's say. Good. Okay. Let's move on to another thing. We're going to take a look at the list of genres of literature. And okay, here we go. So literary genres, there are actually 4 of them, main 4 genres that we can talk about. You probably have heard of them on your literature lessons, whether it is Ukrainian or maybe international literature, we have foreign literature. So we have 4 main literary genres. First of all, it's fiction. There are usually novels, short stories, myths, tales, legends. Then we have nonfiction literature. There are diaries, biographies, essays, speeches, and autobiographies. So if we compare fiction and nonfiction, you can understand that fiction is something that the author has created by themselves. So it's something that hasn't never happened in the real world, or there are some ideas and things that the author decided to make up. So fiction, it's like выгаданный. Yeah, we can see that myths, tales, legends, yes, that's novels and short stories, usually they didn't happen in the real life. However, nonfiction is a description of something that really happened. So a diary, yeah, of a living person, or a biography of a person who lived a few years ago, for example, many years ago. Essays, again, speeches made by politicians or celebrities, and again, an autobiography that the person write about themselves. Then poetry. Yeah, we can find some poems, sonnets, ballads, pastorals, lyrics, and songs, and all of these types of literature belong to poetry. After that, the last one is drama. Comedies, tragedies, tragicomedies, farce, melodrama, and pantomime, they are all the types of the genre of literature which is called drama. So now let's take a look at the examples of these literary genres. So poetry. You may have read these poetry examples in your literature lesson. So first, it's Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, William Shakespeare, Sonnet 18, Sappho, the Anactoria poem, Francesco Petrarch, What Do I Feel If This Is Not Love, and Dante Alighieri, Upon a Day Came Sorrow Into Me. So these are the main poetry examples. Well, not the main, but the most famous ones. Yeah, you can find them in the literature lessons at school that you usually have. So then we have the genre of drama. Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, the most famous probably, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw, and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by John Tiffany. This is a play, so it comes to the genre of drama. The next genre would be nonfiction literature. So let's take a look. So nonfiction examples: The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf, and probably one of the most popular modern books on nonfiction. It's *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*. So you may have heard of this book a lot. Recently, it's been like in a lot of different types of news. And the last genre, it's fiction. So let's see the example. Coraline, Neil Gaiman. You may have seen the cartoon, by the way. The Hobbit, or There and Back Again by J.R.R. Tolkien, also a great fiction example. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, fantasy fiction by J.K. Rowling. Then The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This comes to the Chronicles of Narnia books by C.S. Lewis. And Charlotte's Web, that's a children's book. It's also fiction, and it was written by E.B. White. So let's get to the dialogue. You may have heard it from the video lesson, but now let's focus on it once again. Pay attention to the phrases in bold. These are the phrases that виділені жирним шрифтом фрази, звертаємо на них увагу. And let's read the dialogue and listen. I will also read it to you. Shopkeeper, can I help you find something? Customer, yes. Can you tell me where the nonfiction books are? Shopkeeper, are you looking for hardcovers or paper books? I'm not sure. I think hardbacks. Well, the nonfiction new releases can be found at the front of the store. The nonfiction section is behind the fiction shelf on your right. The hardbacks are placed on the top shelf and the paperbacks on the bottom one. Is there a specific book I can help you find? Customer, I'm looking for the latest copy of J.K. Rowling's book. Shopkeeper, do you know the name of the book? Customer, it's something like Troubled Blood. Shopkeeper, I don't think I'm familiar with this one. Let me check our database. Yeah, sure. I read about it on my Instagram newsfeed. It was mentioned the book is already in stock. It says we have several in store. They are actually located in the nonfiction section. I can show you where. Thanks. I appreciate it. So this is the dialogue from the video lesson that is on the resource on the online website of LMS e-learning. So you can also read it and listen when you rewatch the video lesson. Now let's take a look at the useful conversation phrases from the dialogue that I asked you to pay attention to. So we have the first phrase, can I help you find something? This is the phrase you may hear from the shop assistant. Yeah, they will assist you or help you to find the book that you need. Can you tell me where? That's how you ask about where to find some books. Are you looking for hardcovers or paper books? So hardcover is like a hard copy of the book, like the hardcover, usually made of carton. And paper books, those are soft books with soft cover. So that's just basically the difference. Is there a specific book I can help you find? So that's what a shop assistant or a shopkeeper may ask you when they want to find out if there is a specific, some special book you're looking for. I'm looking for the latest copy of. So I'm looking for the newest book, so by some author, for example. It's something like, it's basically the phrase that you say, "Це щось типу," so that would be the "it's something like" phrase. I can show you where. This is the assistant giving you the directions. They will show you where to go to find the book. And thanks, I appreciate it. That's what you say when you're thankful for the help. So these are, again, the useful conversation phrases. You can also find them in the lesson materials on the website. And it would be a great idea for you to learn them and use them in your speech, in your conversations. They are quite useful, and they will definitely be good for different types of conversations. So not only for the bookstores, but also for some other types of dialect. So let's get to the next exercise, grade 8. Here we have to match the words and phrases that are connected with literature with their explanations. So we have 7 words on the left and phrases and their definitions or explanations on the right. So let's take a look at the words. Again, they were all mentioned in the dialogue we have just listened to and read to. So let's start. A storyteller, challenging, a blurb, a shopkeeper, news feed, a key to success, and to sign a copy. Now, let's take a look at their definitions that we will have to match later. So, a short description of a book, the secret of becoming happy, famous, or wealthy, a screen with updates on latest news, difficult, testing a person's abilities, an owner of a store, a person who tells a story, an author, and when an author writes their signature in the book. So how do we call it? So let's think. You can write your ideas in the chat. So we have, again, 7 words and phrases, and we have 7 definitions. So let's start matching. So who do you think a storyteller is? Who do we call this person? A storyteller, who is that? You can write your ideas in the chat. If you have bad quality of the video, it's okay. That's why I'm reading out all of the words and phrases. So a storyteller, let's match it. I can see there are already some ideas in the chat. That's a person who tells a story or an author. So that's a storyteller. The next word is challenging. So what do we call challenging? What type of activities or other situations we can call challenging? Yeah, it could be an exam. But what about from the phrases from on the right? So what do we match it with? Challenging. What kind of situation is that? Yeah, that's definitely difficult, testing a person's abilities. So challenging, difficult, they are synonyms. The next word is number 3, a blurb. What do you think a blurb might be? A blurb. That's actually a specific type of text, usually a small one, that actually, yeah, it is a short description of a book. So that's a blurb. Okay. Yeah, so a blurb is a short description on of a book. You usually can find it at the end of the book, on the cover, yeah, or maybe like in the first 2 or 3 pages. Usually there is like a short blurb telling about what the book is, what the book is about. Number 4, a shopkeeper. Who do we call a shopkeeper? Because there might be a shop assistant, yeah, that's usually a person who works in the shop and helps you to find something, or like works at the cash desk. But who is a shopkeeper? That's usually a person that's an owner of a store. Very good. So an owner of a store or a shopkeeper. Number 5, news feed. What is that? You can actually have it on your smartphone, yeah, like on Instagram or TikTok, basically, also like news feed when you scroll it. So what do we call news feed? You usually read the news, yeah, in that specific chain of messages, and that's called a screen with updates on latest news. Those can be different applications on your phone that provide you with latest news. For example, a news feed on Telegram, or once again on Instagram. Good. Number 6, a key to success. What is that? We have two options left. It's either the secret of becoming happy, famous, or wealthy, or when an author writes their signature in the book. So what do you think it is? A key to success. What is that? Number 6, yeah, and we actually match it to the second definition. A key to success is the secret of success, or becoming happy, famous, or wealthy. Well, success is individual for everybody. The general definition would be like this one. So a key to success, the secret of success. Number 7, the last one, to sign a copy. This should be super easy. Yeah, we have the last one, the last definition left. So to sign a copy, that's actually what happens when an author writes their signature in the book on, for example, some meeting with the author. When you buy the book, or you have already bought the new book by the author, they may put their signature on the front page or somewhere else in the book. Okay, that was it. Now I want you to answer some questions. Here are 4 of them. You can either answer all of them, or you can choose just one and answer them in the YouTube stream comment section. So here are our first 4 questions. What's your favorite book or story? Who is your favorite author? What is your favorite genre? And how often do you buy books? So I'm waiting for you to write short comments in YouTube, your favorite book story, favorite author, favorite genre, and yeah, if you buy books often, like for example, once a day, once a month, once in half a year, maybe once a year, or like 10 times a year, maybe. So maybe you buy books online, maybe you buy the real paper book. So what about that? My favorite book story is Ніч перед боєм. Okay, good. All right, good. Chronicles of Narnia. Yeah, we mentioned it in the beginning. Yeah, that's a great book, and there's very interesting movies as well. Great. Eleanora Porter, Pollyanna. I read this one when I was a teenager, like 13 years old. Yeah, I loved it. Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Yeah, that's a great one. Divergent, John Rowling. A favorite genre is fantasy. Yeah, I love fantasy as well. American Gods by Neil Gaiman, right? Yeah, that's an awesome one. Also the TV series, but they were not that successful. Le Petit Prince, yeah, by Exupéry. Great, yeah, that's a very nice fantasy story about love, support, and relationships. Favorite book stories, JoJo Bizarre Adventures. Is there a book? I know there are like, well, that's a cartoon series. I saw that on Netflix as well, but never thought there was like a story in a book. Maybe comics, you mean manga. That was also, by the way, a literature genre, manga. We just didn't mention it before. Good. Spokbasish, Ukrainian literature here. Good. Dovzhenko, Ukrainian author. J.K. Rowling. Yeah, that's probably one of the most famous and popular teenage writers, young adults, yeah, let's say. Charlie and Chocolate Factory. Yeah, the great one. Okay. Great. Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Oh gosh, that's a very nice one. Okay. Good. Well, I'm waiting like for 2 more minutes for you guys to give your comments, answering the questions, and then we are going to move on to another exercise of Charles Dickens. You can see as one of the main authors. Great. Fiction, yeah, it's like, but there are many subgenres. Yeah, the other genres in fiction, you can always specify. Stephen King and Steve Martin. I think you mean like George Martin or Steve Martin, because George Martin is that about Son of Ice and Fire, and Stephen King, yeah, he's a master of horror stories. Amazing. Good. Romance, psychology. Psychology books are actually called nonfiction, yeah, if we give the general genre, but yeah, this is a subgenre, psychology. It's nonfiction. Okay. Fantasy and all genres. Good. Всеволод Мистайко. Cool. Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. You can always add some ideas. Okay. I don't have favorite book. Maybe you will find one. I hope so. Yeah. And now let's move to the next exercise for us. We're going to play Kahoot and check how well you remember the information about the genres of literature. So let's do it. I'm going to turn on the Kahoot on my screen. In just a second. I'm going to download the page with Kahoot in a few moments. I will continue. It's just a moment, just 1 minute. Just a second. Okay. We are going to play the quick note. Okay. So you can see the link to Kahoot in the chat. You can also see it in our on your screens. Yeah, so it's kahoot.it. You can see it here in the top of the page. So join at kahoot.it. Okay. And the game, it should be right here on the screen. Can you see it? I can see that there's something wrong. Okay. Just a moment, we'll. Okay, 1 second. Okay, here we go. Okay, in just a moment. Yeah. So it's 3789305. You can copy it from the chat. You can write it down from the screen that you can see. Yeah, so 3789305. Okay, don't forget to normal, good, non-offensive nicknames, because the words that are inappropriate language-based will be eliminated from the Kahoot, so you will not be able to join the game. So please use your names or some funny nicknames. Okay, we're going to wait for, how many people do we have? 66. So if at least half joins, then it will be good, and we're gonna start. If it doesn't work, just close the tab, закриваємо вікно і ще раз спробуйте зайти, можливо, з іншого девайсу, можливо, з іншого браузеру, like Safari or Google Chrome. Eight, 9305. So what do we call a story of a real person's life written by that person? Якщо історія про життя людини написана цією ж людиною. So, is it biography? Is it a folk tale or autobiography? Okay, there was probably something wrong with Okay, let's continue. There was probably something wrong. Let's go with the next one. And please pay attention. You just have 10 seconds to answer. Okay, maybe there is something wrong with the chat. Let's go on. So historical fiction, biography, autobiography. That's the story. Biography is the story of a real person by another person. So an autobiography is written by the author, yeah, and the person who lived through those events. And the story of a real person's life that is by another person, that's biography. Okay, let's take a look at the next question. So writing presented in dialogue format that is intended to be acted on stage or a play. So is it drama, fantasy, fable, or realistic fiction? So what would be that? Okay, good. Yeah, so that's drama. Yeah, when we act on stage, when the actors act on stage like Romeo and Juliet, that genre is drama. All right. Let's take a look at the next one. Number 4, a story with the elements that are impossible, such as talking animals or magical powers. Is it fable, folk tale, poetry, or fantasy? That's definitely fantasy. Very good. So when we have impossible things, not real life things, something that is imaginary, it's fantasy. The next one, question number 5, a short story intended to teach a lesson, often with animals or inanimate objects. So what could that be? Historical fiction, folk tale, fable, or realistic fiction? That's fable. Yeah, like Baika, for example. Yeah, so usually the animals talk. Good. The next one. A story, often with a message, that was initially passed on by word of mouth. So, like native people usually tell those stories. Those are called folk tales. Yeah, folklore, yeah, is one of the subgenres. Good. Now, question number 7. A fictional story with real and invented characters. Historical fiction, poetry, fable, or folk tale? That's historical fiction. Very good. Question number 8. A suspenseful story about puzzling event that is not solved until the end of the story. Like a detective story, but something that is very, very weird, something extremely strange. Yeah, that's a mystery. So a story about some strange event not solved until the end of the story. So it's called a mystery. Again, that goes to fiction literature. The general genre is fiction, but the subgenre is called mystery. Okay, let's take a look at the next question. That is number 9. All of the information is based on true facts and not made up. So when we read about real events, something that really happened in the history, drama, fantasy, mystery, or nonfiction, what is that? Yeah, that is nonfiction, or another word is expository, but it's a great idea for you to focus at just nonfiction for now. So nonfiction, not made up events, true facts, true history events, that is nonfiction. Okay. Number 10, a verse written to inspire thought. How do we call a verse? You learn verses, or also they are called poems. So the genre is named poetry. Yeah. So poetry is a verse written to inspire thought, usually with a rhyme, with specific rhythm. So yeah, that's the genre poetry. Okay, number 11, the last but one, a story using made-up characters that takes place in modern times. Is it biography, science fiction, realistic fiction, or nonfiction? So when something is happening in modern times, that is called realistic fiction. So yeah, that's made up characters, but the times are like today, something that is going on now, realistic fiction. And the last question, number 12, a story that mixes together futuristic technology with scientific facts and fiction. So is it biography, fantasy, science fiction, or mystery? So what do you think? Definitely, very good. It's science fiction. Okay, let's take a look at the podium, at the scoreboard of the winners. So the third place goes to alligator. Then we have hay as the second place, and the first place goes to Zhongli, I guess. Okay, so that will be it. And we have 2 runners up, number 4 and number 5. You can see their names on the screen. Okay, good. That's basically it, guys, for today. If you need some extra information, don't forget that you can always find it on the Ukrainian School Online website, which is LMS e-learning. It's topic 6, lesson 7. So you can find the short video there. And you can also find all the information that you need, the materials, and you can rewatch this lesson online on the Osvitoria YouTube channel. Thank you very much for being here and joining the lesson today. That's actually the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for working hard and for sharing your favorite literature genres and favorite books. That's it. I'm Miss Anna. Thank you for joining the lesson and see you next time.